Level 1. The arrival. Your alarm screams at 4:47 a.m. The sky outside is pitch black. You throw on a dark suit and clip a lanyard around your neck. Coffee goes into a travel mug. You step outside into the freezing Virginia morning. The roads are almost empty at this hour. The drive to Arlington takes about 40 minutes through quiet highways. Your mind races with thoughts about what today will look like. You merge onto Route 110, and that is when you see it for the first time. A massive fortress of concrete and limestone, sitting low and wide against the horizon, the Pentagon, the largest office building ever constructed by human hands. It covers 29 acres of land, 6.5 million square feet of total floor space spread across 5 levels. 5 outer walls form a perfect geometric shape, visible only from above. 5 concentric rings are built deep within the structure. This building was constructed during the early years of the Second World War. Engineers broke ground on September 11, 1941, exactly 60 years before the building would be attacked. The entire structure was completed in just 16 months. Over 15,000 workers built it around the clock in rotating shifts. Steel was scarce during wartime, so they used 435,000 cubic yards of reinforced concrete instead. That single decision would later save hundreds of lives. Over 26,000 employees pass through its entrances every single day. You're about to become one of them. You pull into the enormous south parking lot. Rows of vehicles stretch as far as your eyes can see. You step out of your car, and the sheer scale of the building swallows your entire field of vision. The nearest entrance sits roughly 300 yards ahead. Armed guards stand beside steel-reinforced concrete barriers. You approach the first security checkpoint. A guard takes your ID badge, and a scanner reads every detail embedded in it. Your bag passes through an X-ray machine. You step through a full-body metal detector. No one smiles, and no one makes small talk. A second guard waves you forward without a word. You push through heavy glass doors, and the civilian world disappears behind you. Level 2. The labyrinth. The first thing that hits you is the corridor. It stretches endlessly in both directions. The polished floors gleam under harsh fluorescent lighting. Every wall is lined with heavy doors and engraved brass nameplates. This is not just one hallway. The Pentagon contains 17.5 miles of corridors in total. If you walked every single one in a straight line, you could reach downtown Washington, D.C., and walk all the way back. The building is organized into 5 concentric rings labeled A through E from the inside out. Ring A wraps tightly around the inner courtyard at the center. Ring E forms the massive outer wall you saw from the parking lot. 10 spoke corridors cut through all 5 rings, like the spokes of a giant wheel. This layout was not designed by accident. Military engineers built it so that any 2 points in the entire building can be reached on foot in under 7 minutes. That is faster than navigating most university campuses. The Pentagon also sits on 5 above-ground floors with 2 additional basement levels below. Every floor mirrors the exact same ring and spoke layout above it. You follow your assigned escort down the E-ring on the 2nd floor. Portraits of 4-star generals and decorated admirals line the walls on both sides. Some of these faces date back to battles fought over 80 years ago. You pass doors with absolutely no labels on them. Other doors have electronic locks, requiring both a keypad code and a badge tap together. Every few steps a mounted sign reminds you about your information security obligations. The room numbering system makes no sense to you yet. Each room is identified by a combination of floor number and ring letter and corridor number. Room 2E467 means 2nd floor in the E-ring at corridor 4, room 67. Most new employees need weeks before they can navigate confidently on their own. People around you move fast and with obvious purpose. No one wanders inside this building. Everyone here has a destination and a hard deadline attached to it. Level 3. Your clearance, your cage. Your escort stops at a plain, unmarked door on the inner ring. A badge scan unlocks it with a sharp click. Inside is a small, windowless room with a metal table and 2 chairs bolted to the floor. This is where your security orientation begins. A briefing officer sits across from you and opens a thick classified folder. Your background investigation took over 12 months to complete. Federal agents contacted your former employers and your neighbors and your college professors. Every address you have ever lived at was physically verified in person. Every foreign contact you ever had was documented and reviewed. Your financial records were examined transaction by transaction. Any unusual debt or unexplained spending pattern was flagged for deeper analysis. All of that work determined one single outcome: your security clearance level. The Department of Defense uses 3 primary tiers. Confidential is the entry level. Secret sits above it. Top secret is the highest general classification most people ever receive. But the system goes far deeper than most civilians realize. Above top secret exist compartmented programs known as SAPs. SAP stands for Special Access Program. Each SAP is its own sealed world of information completely isolated from everything else. You only learn that a SAP exists if your specific job absolutely requires that knowledge. Some programs are so restricted that fewer than 100 people on the entire planet have access. The officer slides a non-disclosure agreement across the table toward you. You read every single line carefully. The penalties for unauthorized disclosure include federal criminal prosecution and years of imprisonment. You sign the document and slide it back. Now your badge becomes your complete identity inside this building. The color and markings on it tell every person you encounter exactly what level of access you hold. Certain corridors are permanently off limits to your clearance level. Some rooms require a secondary armed escort even for people who hold top secret. There are also rooms called SCIFs scattered throughout the building. SCIF stands for Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. These are sealed rooms where the most classified conversations and briefings take place. No phones are allowed inside, and the walls are built to block every form of electronic signal. The officer looks you directly in the eye and explains one final rule. You do not discuss your work outside this building under any circumstances. Not with your spouse, not with your parents, not with the closest friend you have on this earth. What happens inside the Pentagon stays permanently inside the Pentagon. You nod slowly and stand up. The door clicks shut behind you and the invisible cage seals tight around your life. Level 4, the nerve center. Your escort leads you deeper into the core of the building. The hallways grow quieter with every turn you take. The normal foot traffic thins out noticeably. You pass through 2 additional security checkpoints that feel far more intense than the entrance. Biometric scanners verify your fingerprints at the final door. Then you arrive at a set of reinforced steel doors, unlike anything else in the building. Behind them sits the National Military Command Center. Most people here simply call it the NMCC. This is the operational heartbeat of the entire United States military. The NMCC is a hardened facility built to function through almost any scenario imaginable. Officers behind blast-resistant walls monitor every active military operation across the planet in real time. Enormous screens display live satellite imagery pulled from dozens of orbiting reconnaissance assets. Digital maps track the positions of naval fleets and ground forces across multiple continents simultaneously. Threat assessments update automatically from intelligence agencies around the world every few minutes. This room has operated without interruption since the day it was created. It runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It has never once gone dark. The NMCC occupies one of the most critical positions in the national command structure. It connects the President of the United States directly to the operational military forces. When a crisis erupts anywhere on the globe, the information reaches this room before it reaches any news network. Officers stationed here maintain direct encrypted communication lines to combatant commanders in every theater of operation on Earth. They can patch the Secretary of Defense through to any general or admiral on the planet within minutes. You observe the main floor from a glassed-in viewing area positioned above. Even from this distance, the intensity radiating from below is overwhelming. Every person on that floor moves with disciplined and deliberate urgency. Phones ring in constant rotation across dozens of workstations. Screens refresh with new intelligence data every few seconds. Somewhere in the Western Pacific, a carrier strike group adjusts its heading. Somewhere over contested airspace, a surveillance aircraft relays encrypted data back to this room. Every single thread of global military information eventually connects back here. The Pentagon's not simply an office building where people sit at desks. It is a living, breathing command center, and it never sleeps. Level 5. Life between the walls. You step away from the secured wings and enter a completely different atmosphere. The rigid intensity fades and something almost normal takes its place. The center of the Pentagon opens up into a 5-acre outdoor courtyard. Green grass and full-grown trees sit in the heart of the most powerful military structure on Earth. Employees rest on wooden benches eating lunch under open sky. A small cafe operates right in the center of the courtyard serving coffee and sandwiches. This quiet spot carries one of the strangest legends of the Cold War. For decades, a modest hot dog stand sat at the exact center of this open space. Soviet reconnaissance satellites photographed it repeatedly from orbit over many years. Intelligence analysts in Moscow studied the satellite images. They became convinced the stand was a disguised entrance to a secret underground command bunker. They reportedly classified this tiny food vendor as a priority target in the event of conflict. It was never anything more than a place to grab a cheap snack on your lunch break. Back inside the building, you discover a fully operational city hidden within the walls. A massive food court serves more than 20,000 meals every single day. The options range from well-known fast food chains to full sit-down dining. A pharmacy fills prescriptions on the ground level. A complete medical clinic handles everything from routine checkups to urgent care situations. A barbershop keeps a steady flow of clients running on the second floor. You can drop off your dry cleaning in the morning and collect it before you leave for the day. A small retail corridor sells books and greeting cards and basic everyday supplies. Banking services sit quietly in the basement level for employees who need them. A fitness center is available for staff who want to work out before or after their shifts. The Pentagon even has its own dedicated metro station connecting directly to the Washington, D.C. transit system. The daily social dynamics in this building are unlike anywhere else you have experienced. Military officers in full decorated dress uniforms walk side by side with civilian analysts wearing business casual. Rank and hierarchy are woven into every single interaction. Hallway conversations are short and purposeful. Friendships form slowly over shared meals and courtyard walks during lunch. But an invisible wall permanently separates people who hold different clearance levels. You can sit across from the same person in the food court every single day and never once discover what they actually do inside this building. Level 6. The day the walls broke. You walk along the first floor of the western side of the building. Something feels different here. The walls look newer than everywhere else. The paint is fresher. The limestone blocks are a noticeably lighter shade than the rest of the structure. Your escort slows down and speaks in a quieter voice. On September 11th, 2001, this section of the Pentagon was attacked. At 9:37 that morning, a hijacked commercial aircraft struck the western face of the building at over 530 miles per hour. The impact ripped through 3 of the 5 concentric rings. 184 people lost their lives that day. 125 of them were military personnel and civilians working inside the building. 59 were passengers and crew aboard the aircraft. The destruction was devastating beyond anything the building had ever experienced. A massive section of the outer E-ring collapsed roughly 30 minutes after the initial impact. Fires burned deep inside the wreckage for several days straight. First responders worked around the clock in extremely dangerous conditions searching for survivors. But something remarkable happened in the rest of the building. Pentagon employees in unaffected sections refused to evacuate. Many of them stayed at their posts and kept working through the entire crisis. Military operations spanning the globe could not afford to pause even for a single hour. The rebuilding effort launched almost immediately after the debris was cleared. It was officially named the Phoenix Project. Construction crews worked 24 hours a day in non-stop rotating shifts. The entire damaged section of the Pentagon was fully rebuilt and reoccupied in less than 12 months. That timeline stunned architects and engineers around the world. You step outside through a quiet exit on the western side. A permanent memorial stands just yards from the exact point of impact. 184 softly illuminated benches rest on a perfectly maintained field of grass. Each bench bears the engraved name of one person who was lost. The benches are arranged by the age of each victim from youngest to oldest. The youngest was a 3-year-old child. You stand completely still for a long moment. The wind moves through the memorial without making a sound. This is the one place near the Pentagon where absolutely no one rushes. Level 7. The weight you carry home. Your first day is finally ending. You retrace your steps back through the same corridors that confused you this morning. The hallways already feel slightly more familiar than they did 8 hours ago. You pass back through each security checkpoint in reverse order. Your badge is scanned one final time at the main exit. You push through the heavy glass doors and step out into the cool evening air. The sun is dropping low over Arlington in deep shades of orange and amber. The parking lot is emptying out in slow, steady waves. You reach your car and drop into the driver's seat. The engine turns over, but you do not move yet. You sit in silence and look at the building through your rearview mirror. 6.5 million square feet of reinforced concrete and secrets, an unimaginable responsibility. Somewhere behind those walls, the NMCC is still tracking every active threat on the planet. Officers are still making decisions that quietly affect the lives of millions of people who will never know their names. You are part of that machine today. You are permanently part of it now. Your phone vibrates on the passenger seat beside you. A message from an old friend asking how your first day went. You pick up the phone and stare at the screen for a long moment. A dozen classified details flash through your mind at once. The windowless briefing room, the oath you signed, the glowing screens inside the command center, the silent memorial benches outside the western wall. You type 2 words and press send. It was fine. That is all you are allowed to say. That is all you will ever be permitted to share. You put the car in drive and pull slowly out of the lot. The Pentagon shrinks in your rearview mirror, but it does not leave your mind. It never will. This building is part of your identity now. The weight of it rides home with you in total silence, and it will be there waiting for you again tomorrow at 4:47 a.m.